Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Worship Drumming. This is the channel that helps you learn some of the most popular worship songs on the drums. But in today's video, you may notice I'm sitting in the rolly chair, so there are no drums in front of me, because I'm going to be talking about learning how to play songs, so that way you can then play them on the drums. Now, I've already done a video about how to listen to music and kind of figure out where each beat and everything is supposed to be landing. But today I want to talk about, let's say we know what beat we're supposed to play, we know where the kick's landing, the snare's landing, and all that, but now it's just a matter of getting our body to physically do these movements, get it in time, and make it sound good. I got 5 tips for you guys that I want to go over today that's really going to help you learn to do this faster instead of just getting real frustrated with yourself and taking even longer than it needs to take just to learn how to physically play a new drum beat. Tip number 1, which is a huge tip, so I put it first, slow down. Now, I understand that sometimes whenever we hear a new beat, we want to just start playing it at that same tempo. We want to just kick that song on and we want to play right along with it. Now, that's not always super good for us because our body's going to start developing timing issues with the way everything's landing, especially if it requires 16th notes. It's a little harder for your body to get those down right away. So it's real important to slow down because not only are you going to learn it faster, you're also going to learn it a lot more clean. You're not going to have these problems of trying to do 16th notes but then like landing too close together, or maybe you got 2 8th notes and you're just awkwardly spacing them. So slowing down is a huge thing and it helps me out so incredibly much. The next tip, number 2, which I'm going to talk about, kind of goes along with number 1 in a way, and you're going to hate me because you hate everyone on YouTube that tells you to do this if you're a drummer. Use a metronome. Now, do I use a metronome every time I practice? No, but when learning a new drum beat, it's super important to me. I always have to have that metronome going because it really does help me out a lot, learn a new drum beat. It helps me keep everything in time, and once again, it helps it clean it up a lot. And so slowing it down, what the great thing about using a metronome is it's going to force you to play slower. Because when you're playing along with that metronome isn't going to speed up, and that metronome isn't going to slow down. You're going to be able to play at that consistent pace. Now, a great tip that I would say for when you're practicing with the metronome, let's say a song is at like 120 BPM. Let's say it's a rather fast song. And we're going to do 120 BPM. Well, we probably should start at around 70. I know most people say 60. I think 60 is too slow, honestly. I think that if you're going to learn a new beat, start at like 70, but obviously if it's like one of those beats that's like 74, then you can slow down to 60. But let's say it's 120. I would start at 70 beats a minute. And don't just do it once. Don't just like sit there and like keep working on it and then you get it once, like, oh, I did it that time, now I'm going to go up to 80. Slow down. Make sure you can do that about maybe 10 times in a row. Do that beat 10 times in a row, then turn the metronome up to 80, then turn it up to 90, then 100, then 110, then 120, and there you go. Now you're able to play it. Like I said, no one really likes practicing with the metronome, but honestly, when you're learning a new drum beat, it's so super important, especially if you have sort of like spacey hits. If you know what I mean, maybe we're not having our right hand on the hi-hat, we're just doing some like stuff with our kick and snare drum. Like, that's really going to help us time all that out practicing with a metronome. Moving on to tip number 3, and this is another just great one that really helps me out a lot when learning a new drum beat. All I'm going to simply say is don't make it too overwhelming. So, a great example of this, I'm learning a song right now called Spirit Breakout. I believe it's Kim Walker-Smith that sings it. Anyways, there's a whole crazy, like, I think there's like 2 drummers going on, or like one person's drumming while electronic like thing is looping other drum stuff in the background. I'm trying to play something that 2 drummers are playing all by myself. It's a bit difficult, and so what I had to do at first, I literally sat on the floor, this floor right here with my back against this wall, and I just put my practice pad in front of me, I grabbed my sticks, and the thing was between the snare drum and the floor tom that I was working on. So all I did for about maybe like an hour or 2 was I just sat there and I worked on moving my right hand over just to hit the floor as if I was hitting the floor tom, and just kept my other hand over there playing, you know, the roll on the snare drum or whatever. So I had to sit there and just work on that movement, and it was a small movement. I didn't like throw my hand all the way over here like I was really hitting a floor tom. I would just literally move my wrist just to come over and hit the ground. And so I had to work small because it was so overwhelming trying to play it on this big kit at first. So moving things down to the practice pad is just great, and it's really going to help you learn it faster. Now, another great tip for it is if you have an electronic drum set like I do, turn off the electronics, because sometimes some of the noises in there are going to make it a little overwhelming. Once again, same example, same song. When I was doing that Kim Walker-Smith Spirit Breakout song, doing that, there's a little bit of a roll in there, and every time I did that roll, it would just kind of throw me off. So I had to shut it off, do it no volume, and it totally just helped me out so much just not hearing that roll in there with my left hand. And the more confident I got getting that bigger movement down and playing that snare roll, then I was able to turn it on and start playing with it. Tip number 4 is another big tip, and this one I could maybe see some controversy with this one, but this is just what I think. Whenever you're practicing a new drum beat, practice up to a specific beat. So for example, maybe it's something real easy where you got your kick drum on 1 and 3, and your snare drum on like 2 and 4, but you got some weird 8th notes or 16th notes thrown in there that you're just not used to yet. A perfect example of this was when I was trying to learn the song Nothing Is Impossible by the Planet Shakers. There was a really weird thing in there where you have to hit the rack tom on the and of 3 and the and of 4, while also playing 4 on the floor and doing just a straight 8th note pattern with your right hand. It was really hard for me to bring my left hand up there and hit that tom correctly and do it twice. Also, there was a second bar that had a really weird thing on the and of 3. You had to hit your snare drum and hi-hat together. It was just an awkward beat to do it on. What I had to first do is I first worked up to that and of 3 on the first beat. I would play and then I'd hit the rack tom, then I'd stop, I'd let my metronome click out, and then I'd start again. Then I'd get to where I got comfortable hitting that and of 3 every time. And once I got comfortable with that, then I started going to the and of 4. Then I'd do it to where I'd hit that rack tom, so I'd keep practicing my and of 3, and now I'm just working up to the and of 4, and let the metronome click out, start over again. And then once I got that and of 4, then I started working on the and of 3 again on the next bar, doing the weird hi-hat snare thing, and I just kept working up to specific beats, and I would do them multiple times till I got comfortable. So once I got comfortable, I just moved further along in the beat, and that is really helpful if you have, let's say, a drum beat that is made up of 2 bars. That is a real helpful tip, because there are some weird things thrown in there sometimes. And finally, number 5, the last tip that I have: do not give up. Please don't give up. In the moment, you're going to get so frustrated, you're going to get so angry, you're going to hate the metronome, and you're just going to absolutely want to just quit. You're going to throw drumsticks and break drumsticks, but just don't give up. I understand that it can be frustrating, and I've got very frustrated before trying to learn some of these new drum beats and put them between my hands. There's a total just reward from it. One, you're going to get that reward and that good feeling of finally I was able to do this, now I have more experience, and I can start playing even more songs now that I know how to do this. Also, just as a worship drummer, in my personal experience, during worship, that is when the Spirit is moving in people's lives just the strongest. Not every service, but some services. Sometimes that song that you're sitting there and you're practicing, that you're putting so much time into to nail and get right, that song sometimes is just one of the most impactful songs during a worship service. That's the song where the Spirit is just convicting and ministering to people during the worship, and it's just so important to be able to get these down. And just don't give up, because understand that there's also that big reward during the worship service, that God's just going to be glorified, that the Spirit's going to move in people's lives, and the message is just going to be so strong and impact them. Before I get off here, guys, I just want to say a couple things. I know I haven't been making videos in a while, and I know I said I would have more time to, but honestly, it seems like the more free time I got, the more my schedule filled up doing other things. I mean, look at this. I haven't even had time to go get my hair cut or anything yet. So I am working on videos. Don't think I forgot about you guys. Don't think I gave up on YouTube or anything like that. Another thing, big thing, is that I am going to be starting, once again, drumming for a church camp. Not next week, but the week after. And guys, I really just need all the prayer from you guys, but obviously don't just pray for me. Pray that God is working in these kids' lives. They're going to be teenagers, and teenage years are a rough time. If you're a teenager, or if you're older than a teenager, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just a tough time. You just pray for me, pray for our worship team, pray for our leaders. And also, I know I ask you guys to pray for me a lot in a lot of my videos, and so what I want to do now is I want to ask you guys anything that you have a prayer request for. I want you guys to go ahead and leave it in the comment of this video, and I promise you I will pray for that request. Another thing to leave in the comments, I know I kind of went over some tips and some ideas on how to learn songs faster. If you got any weird ones that I didn't name or just some obvious ones that maybe I just missed, please leave those in the comments below so we also can learn from each other in that manner as well. Leave a thumbs up if you learned something new today. Subscribe below if you're interested in more content like you saw in the video today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.